If you're an advocate of a domestic abuse clinic and you see women falsely reporting sexual assault, you understand they've degraded your ability to do work.
Yeah.
Women should be more mad at the Trevor Bauer and more mad at the Johnny Depp situation. Women should be more upset than men are.
And this was one of the smartest things that I've seen anybody say in a long time. And Jordan Peterson said this, and he said it on Bill Maher's show. And what he said was the problem, in a nutshell, I'm going to paraphrase him, but he said the problem currently with our society, especially in universities, is everything, the kids are taught at a young age to view everything through a Marxist lens, meaning this, that there has to be power and powerless in every situation.
Yes.
There has to be an aggressor and a victim in every situation.
And the powered must be evil.
Yes, must be evil.
Like, well, for instance, there's the
just is always the side of the weak.
The description from Marx's the Communist Manifesto, there is the capital class and then there's the proletariat. Yes. And the capital class is evil and cannot help but to be evil and knows nothing but evil and can do nothing else but evil. And the proletariat is always innocent.
Yes.
You're correct. And in doing so, there is no other way to define economies other than to do that. Another way to say
but I think part of that has become, and how that ties back, yes, it was about Israel, what I was talking about with Ackerman, but what I was talking about was the patriarchy, that view that has been seeded, which I think is the number one thing that has weakened men in this country, is those views in that idea that it's wrong to be masculine. It's wrong to want to take charge as a man in your household.
Yes. So masculinity, they deem as toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
But the thing is there
good masculinity or is it just straight to toxic?
So here's the thing. Yeah, that's my point. That's like well, the problem is masculinity has been used for several things. It was used in the 1980s. I believe there was some show. It was like two homosexual men, and they were using it to try to like talk about men who shamed other men for being gay as being toxically masculine. And then later on, psychologists used it for like violent offenders in prison, like I believe in the 1990s. But the term has a meaning, but the meaning is this: like the two things are mutually exclusive. You can be masculine or feminine, and then you can be toxic or non-toxic. If you're masculine and toxic, you want to put the words together and say toxic masculinity. Technically, that's a thing, but the two words do not go together in and of themselves.
Sure.
And people try to make it like that is the case. So again, me setting boundaries for my relationship, hey, I would prefer it if you didn't wear this and didn't go out at this time. That is a masculine boundary that I'm setting, but all masculinity is now considered toxic masculinity to a certain group of, instead of Marxist, I like to say egalitarian people or progressives. To them, all of it is toxic masculinity. They cannot come up with any term for anything that is masculine that is not toxic. And so because of that, like you're saying, it's just name calling. It's anyone who doesn't agree with you on race politics is a racist, and any man who doesn't agree with a woman on anything is icky or creepy. It's one of these situations where it's a name that I can now call you to sort of try to defeat. It's very, what was the, anytime two people are arguing and the first person to invoke Hitler or the Nazis lost the argument. Have you ever heard that? Yeah.
But you're right.
Yeah. The first person, because you had to go to the extreme. It's the same type of situation. I know whenever you say that what I'm saying is toxically masculine, I know, and deep down,
That's
you've lost the argument.
Because you got nowhere to go.
You've got nowhere to go. So essentially that's the way it works. Now, are men who beat their wives toxically masculine? They are toxic. I know homosexual men who've beaten their boyfriends.
Yeah.
So they're feminine men who have acted toxic. So those things are mutually exclusive. That's always the point that I've tried to make. And trying to put them together is so damaging to men. And that's the thing. One of the things is there's a group of evolutionary psychologists, or they're sex researchers. And these guys are progressives, and they don't like this terminology of, like, say women are delusional. If I say men are delusional, it's fine. If I say women are delusional, then it's a problem. And the reason why is because in academia, which tends to lean more progressive, men are a privileged class and women are a protected class. Yeah. And so it doesn't make any difference. Do men suffer? Like if you were to do I could show, there's statistics that show that as men are zeroed out financially over the age of 40 and they're divorced, the likelihood of them taking their own lives is 9x. 9 times higher. Okay. So if I were to do, let's say I would do a college course, Why Men Suffer, or like something like this, and I would go over men die from industrial accidents more. They're 80% of the victims of violent crime, and they're 9 times as likely to take their own lives after they've been divorced. If I were to do this, and also 20% of divorces are initiated by men, 80% are initiated by women. Yeah. If I were to say 97% of alimony is paid from men to women, all these different things, and I did a course at Harvard called Why Are Men Suffering?
Oh God.
We would have people boycotting the even like, how dare you even pretend as if men suffer ever for any reason? And the thing is, is it definitely hard for women? It certainly is, and there's plenty of ways we can look at. I go very much against the red pill community on this. I do think sexual assault is underreported. I think because I lived here for a long time and I've seen girls be sexually assaulted and the police don't take them seriously. Yeah. I think it's massively underreported. Whereas a lot of guys in this space think it's overreported. I don't think it is.
I'll agree with you on that.
By the way, but here's the problem, because about 5% of women, about 6% of women who have borderline personality disorder, those are the women who tend to falsely report sexual assault. The Amber Heard type of individual, they falsely report it. And because of them, they make it harder for everyone else. The whole situation with, I believe her name was Nikki Hill or something Hill, the woman who accused Trevor Bauer of abusing her. Turns out none of it was true. He's a catcher, or he's a pitcher for the Dodgers. Couldn't play for 2 years. Turns out everything she said wasn't true. He was totally acquitted of this. And my whole thing is, while that makes a lot of men angry to see a woman falsely accusing men of sexual assault, it should make women angry. Is someone, if you're an advocate of a domestic abuse clinic and you see women falsely reporting sexual assault, you understand they've degraded your ability to do work.
Yeah.
Women should be more mad at the Trevor Bauer and more mad at the Johnny Depp situation. Women should be more upset than men are, but men are the ones who are more upset.
I don't know. I think a lot of women were upset by that. I think they saw the value in that. This is such a high profile deal. Like, if it ever happened, how it's going to damage my ability to be.
I just don't think the outrage was nearly enough from the women's side as it was for men. Yeah. Men were like, this woman should go to jail, and women were like, they all of a sudden they just kind of like deleted their previous tweets. Like, that's all I saw from them, right? That one didn't age that well, did it? Right?
No, it didn't.
So that's the thing. Like, I really do think we should hold everyone to account. Every news media organization that said Trevor Bauer was guilty, or I think we should hold the Dodgers to account for suspending him.
If you're going to talk about sports and that, I think you're like the Duke lacrosse deal, man.
Of course, Duke lacrosse is another extreme example. Just so we're clear, most women would never do that. We're talking about less than 5% of women. Yeah. There's also the defensive tackle at Baylor who he wasn't drafted in the NFL because of a false allegation. Yeah. The punter for, I forgot if it's the Chargers or the Bills, he ended up like almost doing like life in prison for something that turns out they found out through phone records. He wasn't even in the same zip code as where the accused action was, and the county sheriff like acquitted him or something to that effect. When we see situations like this, we're talking about maybe 5 or 6% of women who do this, but the problem is it's so damaging for the women who are legitimately claiming sexual assault when these women are up here doing this falsely and crying wolf. It makes it harder for everyone. Yep. And so that's essentially the problem. But I'm not the one who should be saying this. It should be women on here saying this. Yep. Ladies, when you falsely accuse someone of this crime, you're not just hurting yourself, and you're not just destroying that man's reputation, you're destroying the entire movement.